Mr. Speaker, do you think Clinton will be kind of like John F. Kennedy, young and full of vitality?
Well, Kennedy wasn't around long enough to have a record, of course. You know, his record was in international affairs. John F. Kennedy, as you eye him, he'll always be a great man. He never had a legislative record to speak of.
That's true.
The only thing he had was the Kennedy rounds, and he had the Peace Corps, and he had a work bill. But other than that, he didn't have anything because he wasn't around long enough.
That's right. He didn't.
But when his courage making Khrushchev back down in Cuba and his Berlin Wall brought more people around the world into democracy and more young people into the field of public life than any other man in history. And that's where he will always remain in the eyes of the world as a leader.
Yes.
Clinton, they tell me, is extremely knowledgeable, an extremely able guy. He's run a state for 12 years. He's a professional politician. And there's no question in my mind that since the time of democracy, politics has been the art of compromise. Bush never compromised. He whittled them down and whittled them down and whittled them down, but he never allowed them to compromise. And if he wasn't in full agreement, he was so proud of his 40 vetoes that he made out there that the Congress is ready and waiting and want to cooperate with the President of the United States.
Yes, the fact...
And I think that he'll be smart enough to go after the main thing right now, which is how do you handle the economy? That's the first thing. And the second thing is how do you handle the health? Those are the two major things in the mind of the American people.
Yes. Don't you have to give Governor Clinton a lot of credit, Mr. Speaker? He took so many...
Strongest guy I ever saw.
My God, most men would have folded it.
I never thought he was going to get out of New Hampshire.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable person.
Tenacious, and he took a lot of hits about his...
He took him and just kept coming back.
And
he's going to be a guy of strength.
He really is, yes, yes. What about Ross Perot? Was he a factor in any way?
Yeah, he was a surprise factor. That's what he was. He's getting 20% of the vote. It's unbelievable. Had he stayed in the thing, you don't know how far he would have gone. You know, the elements of politics is the candidate, the issues, the organization. But you can have those, and if you haven't got the fourth, you forget about it. That's the money, and he would have had the money. You don't know how far he would have gone. Although America has never been much for a third party. We've never... You know, our Constitution doesn't tell you about parties, and actually we came into parties when Jefferson and Hamilton had a disagreement, a philosophical disagreement, and then your party's broken. We've always had a two-party system. And when you have a two-party system, you have more stability.
Yes.
Let me tell you that.
Yes.
And so Perot could be a factor out there as a critic.
And do you think, Mr. Speaker, the fact that you now have the White House and both houses of Congress controlled by your party, the gridlock will end?
But it'll end as far as the House. I never speak for the Senate.
All right, but how about...
I know the House. I know that Foley is dying to cooperate. I know the House has been sick and tired of the quibbling and the fighting with the President. And after all, our Constitution says your Congress is an equal.
That's right.
And the President didn't want to let them be an equal. And now they got their own man, and they will be an equal. And there'll be nothing of coming out of the blue with ideas. It'll be all sat down at the Tuesday morning and Thursday morning breakfast. Here's what we got in mind. What do you think of it? You got anything to add to it? So I look for great cooperation between the House and the President.
Isn't it a shame that during your tenure you couldn't have had a Democrat as opposed to...
Well, it was an amazing thing. Jimmy Carter, brilliant guy, but they came in with a chip on the shoulder against the establishment. That's what this fellow doesn't do. He's a professional politician.
Yes.
There's no chip against the establishment. He knows that he has to get the establishment to work with him.
That's right.
So he's going to get off, I believe, on the right foot.
Yes.
I look for great things.
Do you know Clinton well, Mr. Speaker?
Well, you know, if he walked in the door, I'd know him. If I walked out the door, he'd know me. Actually, in 1980, I was the chairman of the convention, and our big hitters party the next day, I introduced him. He was our principal speaker, and he was a tremendous speaker. And 4 years ago, interestingly, my daughter is a professional fundraiser, and she ran the biggest party for CNN for Turner. She runs parties for Turner among her clients. And he had the biggest party in Atlanta. Everybody was there. Jimmy Carter. And she introduced me to him. She says, here's the next president of the United States, even though Dukakis had just been nominated. So, you know, I don't know how many people, how many times did say the president wants to, they want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to them. Why don't you want to talk to them? Look at them. I'm old hat. I'm the Roosevelt era. I'm the last of the New Dealers. Christ, I says, don't start bringing us in there. We're Russell left. Talk with new, fresh blood. Don't bring in the old timers. He's doing a hell of a job. So, what I know, I'm sure I know him. You know what I mean? But I've met him at governor conferences and things like that. And everybody tells me he's an extremely bright guy.
Yes. What did you think of the debates, Mr. Speaker? He handled himself
He handled himself absolutely marvelous in all of them.
Yes.